The city of Lagos never slept. The streets were alive, cars honking, music blasting from speakers, and people moving like waves in a restless ocean. Among the noise and excitement, one man lived above it all: Henry Daniels. Henry was 32 years old, tall, handsome, and ridiculously rich. He was the only son of Mr. Daniels, a powerful billionaire who owned businesses across Africa. While his father was known for his discipline and hard work, Henry was known for parties, fast cars, and beautiful women. His life was a dream many could only imagine. On any given night, Henry could be found in exclusive clubs surrounded by celebrities, models, and business tycoons. He drank the finest whiskey, wore designer suits, and changed his cars like they were clothes. Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Rolls-Royces. Everywhere he went, cameras followed, and social media couldn't get enough of his luxurious lifestyle. One night, he would be seen vacationing in Dubai, sipping champagne on a yacht with a famous actress. The next night, he would be in a private VIP lounge in Lagos, whispering sweet things into the ear of a beauty queen. Henry never stayed with one woman for too long. To him, relationships were like business deals, temporary, exciting, and meant to end. Love was a joke, something for poets and dreamers. But tonight was different. Henry sat in his father's massive office, a place that smelled of power. The walls were lined with awards and photos of great leaders shaking hands with Mr. Daniels. Henry had spent his life avoiding this room. It reminded him of everything he didn't want to be. Across from him, his father sat behind a large mahogany desk. Mr. Daniels was a man who didn't waste words. His sharp eyes studied Henry like a judge about to deliver a sentence. His gray suit was crisp, his salt and pepper hair perfectly in place. Then, in his deep voice, he spoke. "Henry, I have made a decision." Henry sighed. He already knew this wasn't going to be good. "You have 1 year to find a wife," his father said, folding his hands on the desk. "If you fail, I will give the company to someone else." Henry sat up straight. "What?" "You heard me," his father repeated, his voice firm. "I have watched you waste your life chasing pleasure. You are reckless and irresponsible. A man who cannot commit to a family cannot run a business." Henry scoffed. "Marriage won't change anything." Mr. Daniels leaned forward. "Marriage will make you grow up. You have spent your life treating women like trophies and love like a joke. But if you cannot even build a family, how can I trust you with a billion-dollar empire?" Henry clenched his jaw. His father was dead serious. 1 year. 1 year to find a woman, marry her, and prove to his father that he was responsible. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration boiling inside him. He loved his life, the freedom, the thrill, the excitement. Marriage was a trap, a prison he never wanted to enter. But losing everything, that was not an option. There had to be another way. Henry never believed in love. To him, the idea of one person being committed to another for life was ridiculous. People got bored, people changed, and feelings never lasted. He had seen too many failed marriages. His friends, business partners, even celebrities, all of them once madly in love, now bitter enemies. He was not going to be one of them. But the problem still stood. His father's ultimatum. Henry needed a solution, one that wouldn't tie him down but would still make his father believe he was taking marriage seriously. Then, an idea struck him. He didn't need a real marriage. He just needed someone to play the role. A fake engagement. It was perfect. He could introduce a woman to his father, pretend to be engaged, and once the year was over, they would break up and go their separate ways. His father would be satisfied, and he wouldn't have to lose his empire. All he needed now was a woman who would agree to the plan. That night, Henry left his office late. He walked to the parking lot, where his shiny black Lamborghini was waiting for him. The night air was cool and the city lights sparkled in the distance. But just as he reached his car, he noticed something strange. Near the security post, in a dark corner of the lot, someone was lying on the ground, wrapped in an old blanket. At first he thought it was a security guard sleeping on duty, but as he stepped closer, he saw a young woman. She was curled up, her thin arms wrapped around herself for warmth. Her clothes were worn out, her hair messy, and her face looked tired and hungry. She was asleep, right there on the cold pavement. Henry frowned. What was she doing here? He nudged her foot lightly with his shoe. The girl woke up with a start, her eyes wide with fear. She scrambled up, looking around as if expecting someone to attack her. "Please, please don't hurt me," she said in a shaky voice. Henry raised a brow. "Relax. I'm not here to hurt you. What are you doing in my parking lot?" She hesitated. Then with a deep breath, she answered, "I have nowhere else to go." Henry studied her for a moment. There was something in her eyes, not just fear, but sadness and exhaustion. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lisa," she replied softly. "Lisa, what are you doing sleeping outside my building?" She looked away, embarrassed. "I used to work here, as a cleaner, but I lost the job. I was sleeping in the staff quarters until security kicked me out." Henry folded his arms, watching her closely. She was young, maybe in her early 20s. Under the dirt and tiredness, he could tell she had once been beautiful. She had soft features and intelligent eyes. "So what is your story?" he asked. Lisa hesitated before speaking. "My parents died in a car accident 2 years ago. They were the only family I had. I was in my 3rd year of university at the time, studying mass communication. But I had no one to pay my fees, so I had to drop out. Since then, I've been working different jobs to survive." Her voice was steady, but Henry could tell she was holding back tears. She cleared her throat and continued. "Things got worse last month. My landlord kicked me out because I couldn't pay rent. I've been sleeping wherever I can since then." Henry remained silent. He had heard a lot of sad stories before, but this one was different. She wasn't just a homeless girl. She was educated, hardworking, and had dreams before life crushed them. And suddenly, Henry saw something else. An opportunity. Lisa needed help. And he needed a fake fiancé. Henry took a step closer, looking her straight in the eye. "What if I told you I can change your life?" Lisa blinked. "What?" "I have a deal for you," he said. "1 year. You pretend to be my fiancé, and in return I'll give you money, a place to stay, and whatever else you need to start over." Lisa looked at him like he was crazy. "You want me to pretend to be your fiancé?" "Yes." "Why?" "I have my reasons." Lisa hesitated. This sounded too good to be true. A part of her wanted to say no, to run far away, but she had nothing. No home, no family, no future. And this man was offering her everything she had lost. She swallowed hard. "You promise I won't have to do anything inappropriate?" Henry chuckled. "Don't flatter yourself, and this is strictly business. We'll play the part in front of others, but behind closed doors, we'll live separate lives." The offer sounded crazy. A homeless woman pretending to be a billionaire's fiancé? It was something straight out of a movie. She should say no. She wanted to say no. But then, reality hit her. She had spent the last few weeks begging for shelter, avoiding danger on the streets, and barely eating enough to survive. And she wanted to go back to school. She had worked so hard for her degree, but life had stolen her dreams. If she accepted Henry's deal, she could save enough money to return to university. And he said it was just acting. She wasn't going to sleep with him. She didn't have to love him. She just needed to pretend. Lisa took a deep breath. This might be her only chance. She stood up and dusted off her torn dress. Henry was still there, leaning against his sleek black Lamborghini, typing on his phone. He looked up. "I'll do it," Lisa said firmly. Henry smirked. "Smart choice." She crossed her arms. "But I have my conditions." Henry raised an eyebrow. "Oh?" 1. I want to go back to school. I'll do as you asked, but I need money for my education. He shrugged. "Fine." 2. There are limits. I won't do anything I'm not comfortable with. Henry chuckled. "Relax. I have zero interest in falling in love." Lisa exhaled. She had no idea what she was getting into, but there was no turning back now. The next day, Lisa moved into Henry's mansion. She had expected luxury, but she wasn't prepared for this level of wealth. The house was massive, a white and gold three-story villa with fountains, expensive cars, and servants dressed in black and white uniforms. Lisa clutched the small bag containing her few belongings as she stood in the grand living room, staring at the sparkling chandelier above her. A well-dressed butler, Mr. Benson, greeted her with a polite nod. "Welcome, miss. I will show you to your room." Lisa followed him upstairs, trying to process everything. When Mr. Benson opened the door to her new bedroom, Lisa nearly gasped. The room was bigger than the entire apartment she had grown up in. The bed looked softer than a cloud, and the walk-in closet was filled with expensive dresses, shoes, and bags. "This can't be real," she whispered, but it was. Lisa took a deep breath. She needed to stay focused. This wasn't her life. It was just a role she had to play for a year.
That evening, Henry walked into the living room, adjusting the sleeve of his designer black suit. "Get dressed," he said. Lisa blinked. "For what?" "We have an event tonight. Time to introduce my beautiful fiancé to society." Lisa's stomach tightened. She had agreed to this, but she hadn't thought about actually acting in public. Henry smirked at her nervous expression. "Don't mess this up." Lisa swallowed hard. This was happening. She walked to her closet and picked a dress, a simple but elegant blue gown. With shaking hands, she put on makeup, brushed her hair, and slipped on a pair of heels. When she stepped into the living room, Henry stared at her for a moment before nodding. "Wow, you look a lot better than I expected," he said. Lisa rolled her eyes. "Thanks for the compliment." Henry chuckled and offered his arm. "Showtime." Lisa took a deep breath and linked her arm with his. As they walked out the door, flashes of paparazzi cameras lit up the night, and Lisa realized this was just the beginning. The venue of the event was a grand ballroom in one of the most luxurious hotels in Lagos. Everything sparkled, the chandeliers, the golden decorations, and even the people. Women wore gowns that looked like they cost more than a house, and men sipped champagne, talking about business and wealth. Lisa felt completely out of place. She clung to Henry's arm as they walked through the doors. All eyes turned to them. She forced a smile. This was part of the deal. She had to act like she belonged. Henry, on the other hand, looked completely relaxed. He smiled, nodded, and shook hands with people like he had been doing this his whole life, which of course he had. "Just stay close to me," he whispered through his smile. "And remember, you're madly in love with me." Lisa rolled her eyes, but nodded. She was about to face her first real test. The first challenge. Henry, my man. A tall, handsome man in a navy blue suit walked towards them, grinning. He had a confident stride, a bright smile, and an energy that filled the room. Henry smirked. "Jaden." Lisa watched as the two men shook hands like old friends. Jaden turned to her, his sharp eyes studying her closely before flashing a charming smile. "And who is this beautiful lady?" Lisa hesitated, then extended her hand. "Lisa." Jaden took her hand, but instead of shaking it, he kissed the back of it, holding it a little too long. Henry's jaw tightened. Lisa quickly pulled her hand away and gave an awkward smile. "So this is your fiancé?" Jaden raised an eyebrow at Henry. "Wow, never thought I'd see the day." Henry chuckled. "Yeah, well, things change." Jaden turned back to Lisa, his smile playful. "Are you sure you're ready for this? Henry isn't exactly the romantic type." Lisa forced a smile. "I can handle him." Jaden leaned in slightly. "If he ever gets too boring, you know where to find me." Lisa felt Henry's arm stiffen under hers. For the first time since they met, Henry looked tense. His usual cool, relaxed attitude seemed shaken. Lisa glanced at him, surprised. Was he jealous? She decided to test it. Lisa turned to Jaden and smiled. "I'll keep that in mind." Henry's grip on her waist tightened. Jaden chuckled, clearly enjoying himself. "I like her." Lisa could feel Henry's energy shift. He forced a tight smile and smoothly pulled her closer to him. Well, too bad, Jaden. She's mine. Jaden laughed and raised his hands in surrender. All right. No need to get possessive, brother. As the night went on, Lisa met more people from Henry's world.
Businessmen, politicians, and celebrities all greeted her with curiosity and suspicion. Some were polite, some were fake. One woman, a tall, elegant lady in a red dress, pulled Lisa aside when Henry wasn't looking. Listen, I don't know who you are or where you came from. I am a journalist, and I have been covering Henry's story for a while now, she said, her voice smooth but sharp. If there is one thing I am sure of, it is that Henry doesn't do relationships, and women like you don't last in this world. Lisa felt her stomach drop. The woman smiled, but it wasn't friendly. Be careful, sweetheart. Not everyone will be as nice as me. My name is Anita, by the way. Lisa watched as she walked away, her heart pounding. She suddenly realized this was more than just pretending. This world had rules, enemies, and expectations, and if she wasn't careful, she could get entangled. The night of the event had been a whirlwind, but Lisa had survived it. She had smiled, shaken hands, and played her role perfectly, but deep down, she knew the hard part was just beginning. The next morning, as she stood in front of Henry's father's mansion, her heart pounded. Henry turned to her. Ready? No,
she wasn't. But she took a deep breath and nodded anyway. The house was even bigger than Henry's, with high ceilings, golden chandeliers, and walls covered in paintings that looked expensive enough to buy an entire street. Henry's father, Mr. Daniels, sat in the grand living room, dressed in a neatly tailored suit, his sharp eyes scanning Lisa the moment she walked in. Hello, Dad, Henry said casually. This is Lisa, my fiancé. Lisa stepped forward, her hands sweating. It's an honor to meet you, sir. Mr. Daniels didn't respond immediately. He just watched her, his piercing gaze making her feel like she was being tested. Then finally he spoke. You're not like the other girls photographed with Henry. Lisa blinked. She hadn't expected that. Sir? Mr. Daniels leaned forward, studying her. The women Henry usually entertains are obsessed with money and fame. He tilted his head. You seem different. Lisa forced a polite smile. I believe there's more to life than just wealth, sir. Mr. Daniels nodded approvingly. I like her. Henry looked surprised. That's it? You've spent my whole life criticizing my choices and now you approve? For once you made a choice that seems wise. Lisa smiled, feeling a small sense of victory. But as she glanced at Henry, she noticed something in his eyes. He was watching her differently, not with his usual amusement, but with something softer, something unreadable. And for the first time, Lisa felt a strange warmth in her chest. Days passed, and Lisa started to adjust to her new life. She had everything, a warm bed, new clothes, and delicious meals prepared by professional chefs. But what surprised her most was Henry. Despite his arrogance, there were moments when he was gentle. She saw it when he brought her coffee in the morning, even though he acted like it was nothing. She noticed it when he defended her against people who doubted her place in his life. And most of all, she saw it in the way he looked at her sometimes, like he was trying to understand something about her, or about himself. Lisa knew she shouldn't get too comfortable. This was a business deal, nothing more. But every time Henry walked past her, every time their hands brushed accidentally, her heart raced, and Henry was struggling too. He had never cared about a woman beyond a casual fling, but Lisa was different. She was smart, kind, and completely unimpressed by his wealth. She challenged him. She made him laugh. And worst of all, she made him feel things he wasn't ready to feel. One evening, as they sat on the balcony watching the city lights, Lisa glanced at him. Can I ask you something? Henry smirked. Go ahead. Why don't you believe in love? His smirk faded. He looked away, his jaw tightening. Because love is just an illusion, he said quietly.
People pretend they love you, but in the end, they always leave. Lisa studied him carefully. There was pain behind those words, though he tried to hide it. She wanted to ask more, to understand him, but instead she just said, "Not everyone leaves, Henry." He turned to her, and for a moment their eyes locked. Something passed between them, a silent understanding, an unspoken truth. Neither of them said another word. But in that moment, both knew. They were falling for each other. Lisa had started to adjust to her new life, but just when things were beginning to feel normal, disaster struck. Henry was in his home office, going through some business files when his phone buzzed. He picked it up lazily, expecting it to be one of his business partners or maybe Jaden. But when he saw the caller ID, his entire body froze. Nancy. It had been years since he last heard from her, but just seeing her name on his screen sent a flood of memories crashing down on him. Memories of his first love. Memories of how she had left him without a second thought. That evening, Lisa was sitting on the couch reading a book when she heard the front door open. She looked up and saw a woman walk in, dressed in an elegant designer gown, dripping with confidence. Lisa didn't need to be told. This was Nancy. Henry entered right behind her, looking tense. "Nancy," he said, his voice low. "Why are you here?" Nancy smiled sweetly, acting like she didn't notice how uncomfortable he was. "Henry, darling," she said smoothly, "do I need permission to visit an old friend?" Lisa's stomach tightened. The way Nancy spoke, the way she placed a hand on Henry's arm so casually, made it clear this wasn't just an ex. This was someone important from his past. Lisa sat up, trying to act unaffected, but inside her mind was racing. Nancy turned to Lisa, looking her up and down with an amused expression. "And you must be the new fiancé," she said, tilting her head. Lisa forced a polite smile. "Yes, I am. And you are?" Nancy laughed. "Oh, Henry didn't tell you about me. That's surprising. I'm Nancy Williams, his first love." Lisa's chest tightened. First love. She glanced at Henry, whose jaw was clenched. He didn't deny it. Nancy turned back to Henry, eyes filled with something between amusement and possession. "I heard about your engagement," she continued. "I just had to come see for myself." Henry exhaled sharply. "Nancy, if you came here to cause trouble..." Nancy cut him off with a small laugh. "Relax, I just wanted to talk." Henry sighed and glanced at Lisa. "I'll handle this." Lisa nodded and stood up, but before she left, she met Nancy's gaze. There was something dangerous behind her smile. Lisa didn't trust her. Nancy and Henry sat in the lounge, an awkward silence stretching between them. She finally spoke. "So, is it true? Are you really in love with this girl?" Henry didn't answer immediately. Nancy leaned forward, her voice softer now. "Henry, we both know this isn't you. You don't do love." Henry's chest tightened. She was right. He had spent years avoiding anything real. And it was her fault. "You don't get to come back and act like you know me," he said coldly. Nancy sighed, playing with her bracelet. "Henry, you were my first love too, but I had dreams. I had a chance to study abroad and you didn't want to come with me. You expected me to give everything up for you." Henry's fists clenched. "I expected you to at least think about it. Instead, you walked away without looking back, and you kind of made it clear you didn't want me to come with you." Nancy bit her lip. "I was young. I thought we had all the time in the world." Henry scoffed. "Well, we didn't." Nancy reached out to touch his hand, but he pulled away. "I made a mistake, Henry," she whispered, "but I never stopped loving you." Henry looked away, jaw tight. He had loved her once, and she had destroyed him. And now she was back. Nancy didn't believe Henry was in love with Lisa. It didn't make sense. She knew Henry's type, and Lisa wasn't. But she wasn't the only one suspicious. The next day, she met up with Anita, the sharp journalist who had confronted Lisa at the party. Anita sipped her coffee, leaning forward. "You're right, Nancy.
I've been watching Henry for years, and his relationships always follow the same pattern. They're short, meaningless, and over within weeks. But suddenly he's engaged? It doesn't add up. Nancy smirked.
Then we exposed the truth. Anita nodded. I've already started digging into Lisa's past. Did you know she used to be a cleaner in Henry's company? That's where he found her. Nancy's eyes widened in surprise, then darkened with amusement. Oh, this is getting interesting. Anita smiled slyly. If we prove she's not who she claims to be, this engagement will fall apart. Nancy leaned back in her seat, satisfied. Let's do just that. Lisa had been feeling uneasy for days. Ever since Nancy's return, things had felt different.
Henry had been distant, more distracted than usual. And although Nancy acted friendly whenever Lisa was around, there was something fake about her smile. Lisa wasn't stupid. She knew when someone was up to no good. But before she could figure out what was wrong, everything exploded. Lisa was in the mansion's living room scrolling through her phone when a notification popped up. A news article. The headline made her heart stop. Who is Henry Daniels' fiancé? The shocking truth about Lisa's past. Her fingers trembled as she clicked on the article. Her entire past was laid out for the world to see. The fact that she had been homeless, that she had worked as a cleaner in Henry's company, and even that she had dropped out of university due to financial struggles. They had even found old photos of her working in the company's janitorial uniform. Lisa's heart pounded. The article wasn't kind. Some comments were sympathetic. Wow, she's been through a lot. Good for her for getting a second chance. But others were cruel. She's just another gold digger looking for a way out of poverty. Henry could have any woman in the world and he chose a former cleaner? Something doesn't add up. She must be really good at pretending. Women like her are dangerous. Lisa's chest tightened as she kept scrolling. A viral video clip showed a reporter asking Nancy about her thoughts on Lisa. Nancy smiled sweetly, but her words were like poison. I just find it surprising. Henry has never been serious about any woman before, and now suddenly, he's engaged to someone who used to work for him? People change, I suppose, but I hope his heart doesn't get broken. Lisa felt sick. Nancy had done this. Lisa was still trying to process everything when Henry stormed into the house, his face dark with anger. He threw his phone onto the table. Lisa looked at him, trying to stay calm. Henry ran a frustrated hand through his hair. The whole world thinks you're using me for my money. Lisa swallowed. I never asked for this. Henry's jaw tightened. I know. Lisa studied his face. He was angry, but was he angry about the scandal? Or about the way people were talking about her? She took a step closer. Henry, do you believe them? He met her eyes, hesitating for just a second too long. Lisa's heart sank. That was all she needed to know. Later that evening, Lisa received a message from Mr. Daniels, Henry's father. He wanted to meet her. Alone. Lisa's hands shook as she entered his grand office. Mr. Daniels sat behind his desk, watching her closely, just like he had during their first meeting. After a long silence, he finally spoke. Tell me the truth, Lisa. Why are you really here? Lisa felt her throat tighten. Sir? Mr. Daniels leaned forward. Are you with my son just for his money? Lisa's breath hitched. The question hurt more than she expected. She straightened her shoulders. No, sir, I'm not. Mr. Daniels studied her carefully. The media will not stop. They will drag you through the dirt, and they will not spare Henry either. Are you ready for that? Lisa hesitated. Was she? She had thought she was strong enough for this, but the truth was, she had never felt so humiliated in her life. Mr. Daniels leaned back, tapping his fingers on his desk. I have met many women who only wanted Henry for his wealth, but you are different. Lisa looked up in surprise. Mr. Daniels gave her a small nod. You have endured more than most, I can see that. But I need to know, are you strong enough to handle what comes next? Lisa exhaled slowly. She didn't have an answer, because deep down she wasn't sure anymore. The scandal had humiliated her, the world had judged her,
and now she wasn't even sure if she could keep pretending. Mr. Daniels' words echoed in her mind. "Are you strong enough to handle what comes next?" Lisa wasn't sure anymore. As she sat across from Henry's father, trying to find the right words, the large flat-screen TV in the office suddenly switched to breaking news. She barely noticed it at first, until she heard Henry's name. Lisa and Mr. Daniels both turned to the screen. The news anchor's voice was sharp. In a surprising turn of events, billionaire Henry Daniels has finally spoken out against the rumors surrounding his fiancée. Lisa froze. Henry spoke out. The screen switched to a live video of Henry at a press conference, standing tall in front of a crowd of reporters. "Let me make something very clear." Henry's voice was firm. "Lisa is not a gold digger. She is not after my wealth, and anyone who thinks otherwise is a fool." Lisa's eyes widened. "She is a woman of strength, intelligence, and character," Henry continued. "I don't care what the media says. I don't care about the rumors. She is my fiancée, and she deserves respect." Reporters shouted questions, but Henry ignored them. He simply turned and walked away. The clip ended. Lisa sat there, completely stunned. Her heart pounded painfully in her chest. He had defended her, publicly. And not just with empty words, he had meant it. Lisa felt her hands shaking. She swallowed hard, trying to push down the wave of emotions rising inside her. She turned to Mr. Daniels, who was watching her carefully. "Sir," Lisa said softly, her voice trembling, "I have something to tell you." He leaned forward, waiting. Lisa took a deep breath. "This engagement, it started as an arrangement, a deal." Mr. Daniels' face remained calm. "Go on." Lisa's throat tightened. "Henry needed to be engaged to keep the company, and I needed a way to survive." She expected Mr. Daniels to look angry or disappointed, but instead he simply nodded. Lisa's chest ached as she continued. "But somewhere along the way it became real." Her voice broke slightly. "At least for me." A heavy silence filled the room. Lisa looked down, ashamed. "I didn't mean for it to happen, but I fell in love with him." Her heart pounded painfully as she admitted the truth out loud for the first time. She loved Henry, and she had no idea what to do about it. Mr. Daniels leaned back, his sharp eyes never leaving her. After a long silence, he finally spoke. "I knew it." Lisa's head snapped up. "What?" Mr. Daniels let out a small chuckle. "I suspected it from the beginning." Lisa's mouth went dry. "Then why didn't you say anything?" He sighed. "Because I wanted to see what kind of person you really were. And now I know." Lisa held her breath. Mr. Daniels leaned forward, his voice softer now. "Love is a dangerous thing, Lisa. It's unpredictable. But it's also the most powerful thing a person can experience. You just have to decide if you're brave enough to fight for it." Lisa felt tears sting her eyes. She had spent so much time pretending, so much time fighting her own feelings, that she hadn't stopped to ask herself the most important question. Was she willing to fight for Henry? Later that day, Henry walked into the mansion, expecting to find Lisa in the living room, maybe reading a book like she always did. But instead, the house felt empty. His chest tightened as he called out, "Lisa?" No answer. Something felt wrong. Frowning, he stepped toward the coffee table, where a small white envelope rested neatly. His name was written on the front in Lisa's delicate handwriting. His stomach dropped. With slightly shaky fingers, he tore it open and unfolded the note. "Dear Henry, thank you for everything. Thank you for giving me a home when I had none. Thank you for defending me when the world turned against me. But I can't do this anymore. I'm returning the check you gave me. Goodbye, Henry. Lisa." Henry stared at the paper, his heart racing. She left. He looked down and there it was, the check he had given her when they first made the deal.
She hadn't taken a single penny. A sharp pang of something unfamiliar hit his chest. He clenched his jaw, then ripped the letter in half, frustration boiling inside him. Why did she have to leave? Why couldn't she just stay? A thought hit him. His father. His father must have said something to her. His hands clenched into fists as he turned on his heel and stormed toward the door. But just as he reached for the handle, a familiar voice stopped him. "Henry." He spun around and saw Nancy standing in the doorway, dressed in a form-fitting gown. "What are you doing here?" he snapped, his patience already thin. Nancy sighed dramatically, stepping closer. "I came to see you." Henry narrowed his eyes. "Now is not the time, Nancy." Nancy ignored his frustration and looked around the empty living room. "She's gone, isn't she?" Henry's jaw tightened. Nancy smirked. "I told you she wasn't meant for this world. She left, Henry. That means she never belonged here. She is beneath you." Henry's fists clenched. Nancy stepped closer, placing a delicate hand on his chest. "You and I, we belong together. We understand each other in a way she never could." Henry took a step back. "No, Nancy. We were over a long time ago." Nancy's face fell slightly, but she kept her confidence. "We were young, Henry. I made a mistake leaving you, and I regret it every day. But now we have a second chance." Henry laughed bitterly, shaking his head. "A second chance? Nancy." Henry exhaled sharply, trying to keep his emotions under control. "You walked away from me like I meant nothing, and now you think you can just come back and pick up where we left off." Nancy reached for his hand, but he pulled away. "I know I hurt you, but I'm here now." Henry's voice was cold. "I don't want you, Nancy." Nancy's lips parted in shock. "I was blind before," Henry continued, "but now I know where my heart lies." Nancy's eyes darkened with jealousy. "With her?" Henry nodded. "Yes, with Lisa." Nancy's face twisted in frustration. "She left you, Henry," she said through clenched teeth. "She didn't even fight for you. I'm the only one who's always been here. I'm the only one who truly knows you." Henry's voice was firm. "You don't know me, Nancy. Not anymore." Nancy opened her mouth to argue, but Henry was done. Without another word, he turned away from her and stormed out of the house. He had wasted enough time. He had to find Lisa. Henry burst into his father's office, his eyes blazing. Mr. Daniels barely looked up from his paperwork. "Henry! What the hell did you say to her?" Henry demanded. Mr. Daniels finally met his gaze. "Excuse me?" "Lisa, she's gone. She left me a note saying she couldn't do this anymore, and I know you met with her." Henry's voice was furious. "What did you tell her?" Mr. Daniels raised an eyebrow. "I didn't tell her to leave." Henry's fists clenched. "Then why did she go?" His father sighed and set his pen down. "Because she has fallen in love with you," Mr. Daniels said simply. Henry froze. Mr. Daniels continued, his voice steady. "She told me the truth about your arrangement. She admitted that it was all a deal from the start. But she also told me that somewhere along the way she fell in love with you." Henry's breath caught. "I'm sure she left because she didn't want to keep pretending," Mr. Daniels said. "She left because she thought you didn't feel the same." Henry's heart pounded. He had been so blind. Lisa hadn't left because she was tired of the deal. She left because she thought he wouldn't love her back. But she was wrong. Henry did love her. And he wasn't going to let her go. Without another word, he turned and rushed out of the office. Henry drove like a madman through the city, his mind racing. Where would she go? She had nowhere to stay. No family, no friends. Then it hit him. The university. Lisa had always wanted to go back to school. If she was leaving him, maybe that's where she'd go first, to at least see the place where her dream had died. His tires screeched as he pulled up to the university gates. And there she was. Lisa sat on a bench outside the campus, her small bag of belongings beside her, staring at the buildings with a sad look in her eyes. Henry's chest ached at the sight. She looked so lost. He stepped out of the car and walked toward her.
Lisa heard footsteps and looked up. Her eyes widened. Henry? He didn't hesitate. He didn't wait. He just pulled her into his arms. Lisa gasped, but before she could say anything, he whispered, his voice raw with emotion. You were wrong. Lisa blinked up at him. What? Henry held her tighter. You were wrong to leave. You were wrong to think I didn't feel the same. Her lips parted, her breath shaky. Henry, I love you, Lisa. His voice was fierce, certain. Not because of this stupid deal, not because of my father. I love you because you're the best damn thing that ever happened to me. Lisa felt her heart break and heal all at once. Tears filled her eyes. You love me? Henry cupped her face, wiping away a tear with his thumb. I love you, he whispered. Lisa let out a shaky laugh, a tear slipping down her cheek. And then, finally, she did the one thing she had wanted to do for so long. She kissed him, and this time, it wasn't part of a deal. It was real. The city had witnessed many love stories, but none like Henry and Lisa's. They had fought through doubt, scandal, and heartbreak, but in the end, love had won. Yet, one final battle remained. Anita sat at her desk, staring at the articles she had written about Lisa. She had been so sure that Lisa was just another gold digger, just another woman trying to climb the ladder of wealth. But as she watched the viral video of Henry running after Lisa, pulling her into his arms and confessing his love, something inside her shifted. Lisa had left because she thought Henry didn't love her. She had given up everything, not for money, but because her heart had been broken. This wasn't a scam. This wasn't a fake engagement. This was real. Anita sighed, rubbing her forehead. She had spent so long chasing a scandal that she had almost destroyed a love story. She picked up her phone and dialed her editor. Drop the investigation. There's no story here. Nancy stood on the balcony of her penthouse staring at the city lights. She had lost. She had done everything. She had whispered doubts into Henry's ear. She had exposed Lisa's past, and she had even offered herself back to him. But in the end, Henry had chosen Lisa. Nancy had never known what it felt like to be on the losing side of love, until now. Tears burned in her eyes, but she quickly wiped them away. She would be fine. She was Nancy Williams, a woman of power, beauty, and influence. But as she picked up her suitcase, ready to leave Lagos and start fresh somewhere else, she couldn't deny the truth. For the first time in her life, she was truly heartbroken. The wedding was the event of the year. The entire city buzzed with excitement as news spread that Henry Daniels, the billionaire playboy, was getting married. And not just to anyone, to Lisa Gray, the woman who had once been homeless, a woman who had worked as a cleaner, a woman who had captured his heart. The venue was a grand African estate, decorated with gold and white fabrics, twinkling fairy lights, and thousands of fresh flowers. Traditional talking drums echoed through the air as Lisa stepped out in her breathtaking Yoruba-inspired bridal gown, embroidered with gold patterns that shimmered under the sun. She was radiant. Henry, dressed in a richly woven agbada, stood at the altar, watching her approach with nothing but pure love in his eyes. Mr. Daniels sat in the front row, smiling with pride. For years he had doubted his son's ability to love. But today, as he watched Henry hold Lisa's hands, he knew his son had found the right woman. When the priest finally said, "You may kiss the bride," Henry didn't hesitate. He pulled Lisa into his arms and kissed her deeply, sealing their love in front of the entire world. The people who had once mocked Lisa cheered for her now. Social media exploded with comments. A real-life Cinderella story, from a cleaner to a queen. Lisa is proof that love has no class. It finds you where you are. To everyone who doubted them, look at them now. Henry and Lisa forever, a fairy tale ending in Lagos. The world had judged them, but now they celebrated them, because love had won. Later that night, as Lisa and Henry danced under the stars, she whispered,
Did you ever think we'd end up here? Henry smirked, pulling her closer. Not in a million years. Lisa laughed softly. Neither did I. He lifted her chin, gazing into her eyes. But I wouldn't change a thing. And as they kissed again, under the golden glow of their wedding lights, they both knew one thing for sure: love truly finds you in the most unexpected places.